Phosphor Dot friends, we haven't played this in a while. Earl at thelogbook.com back on the Apple II. Let's resume our fascination with Project Space Station. This game was released in 1985, and it was intended to be somewhat educational. It, however, has kind of gained a little bit of infamy in terms of it being a time capsule, because you have a space shuttle fleet consisting of two shuttles, which are Challenger and Columbia. Now, I took the liberty of doing the mission setup off screen so we could just get down to playing the game and kind of reminding you what the mechanics of the game are. We have this first launch scheduled in July of '87, and here we go, taking off. And by the way, there is no sound in this game. You're trying to well, you're supposed to try to keep your shuttle aligned in the middle of these rectangles. And I'm not doing too great at that. I'm using keyboard controls rather than a joystick, and I used to be really good at this, but oh well. Now, oh. Bring out your pod. I did go ahead and schedule on this first flight. Oh, we have a little bit of sound. The first two modules of the station, as well as the first satellite and the first payload assist module that we would need. Now, one thing that the game does get right, sadly, is that despite NASA being a public agency, it is expected to make money as well as spend it. So you have to keep a constant supply of satellites and payload assist modules, because very much in line with the why can I not dock the module to the station? This is curious. Alright, let me see if it's a matter of where the docking module is. Okay, can I put it on the top? That is strange. Okay. Let me go ahead and get the payload module. Up here out of the way, and the satellite out of the way. If you leave things in too low an orbit, the orbit will decay, and you don't want to do that. If you leave stuff in too low an orbit, the orbit will decay and it will re-enter the atmosphere, and whatever that cost you to procure that satellite or that station module or what have you, that money will have just been wasted. Alright. Module not docked to station. Okay, you know what? We're going to leave it there. Oh, we have a message. Deploy satellite to geosynchronous orbit. Well, let's get back in space. And, I am too far from the satellite. Really? Anyway, deploying satellites is how you make money. Well, that's one way that you make money. And so that brings in revenue that will pay for future endeavors. Project Space Station it has little action-oriented elements like this. I don't know why I can't dock the module to the station. Having a satellite deployment income added to budget. Alright. Let's leave those in their orbit. Let's land the shuttle. Oh, Challenger in Atlantis. Okay. Still, part of that has not aged well. So landing, much like launch, you are trying to keep within the rectangles. Then here, you're trying to find a balance between bleeding off speed and making sure you land on the runway. Don't set down. You can't land too fast, and if you land outside of the runway or if you run out of runway, that's a bad thing. It really starts to mess things up. Okay. Oh, that was a good landing. That was a good landing. So let's look at our launch schedule. Let's move this launch up. When your payload weight or volume is maxed out, that shuttle is full. So we will await the next launch day, which we moved. This is Atlantis, so you know we accelerated the launch schedule on this one. So let's get Atlantis up there. And we will get more satellites up there. I think part of my problem is that there is a docking module already in orbit where you're supposed to start building your station. And because I wasn't super good about keeping these rectangles lined up. Oh, where are they? Come back here, rectangles. I miss you. Well, we'll wound up where the okay, so this is where I'm stowing my space station pieces in a stable orbit. Space debris has entered space station orbit. Okay, for those of you who have not watched my previous videos playing this game, which this is a Project Space Station on the Apple II. This is a real throwback for Phosphor Dot Fossils. This was the very first game. Ah, there's the space debris. What's the message? Solar flare predicted. Okay. The solar flare really only matters when you have a crew on the station. Okay, you deposit the space debris, which looks like a wadded up piece of paper. You deliberately deposit that in a decaying orbit. And that way it will... the atmosphere will take care of it for you. Alright. Alright, so that docking module, that's where I'm supposed to be building the station. Okay, it's all starting to make sense now. Let's do this right. Now, even though we are going to... there we go. It's all coming back to me. It's been a few years since I played this last. Alright. Now I want to go back to space debris. I don't want to go back to space debris, but apparently I will be compelled to. The reason that the space debris element of the game is so prevalent, it gives you something to do because you're not always going to be launching shuttle missions on top of each other. But... oh, hello, space debris. Let's get this out of the way right now. Much like in real life, space junk can imperil the station. So, Give a hoot. Give a space hoot. Don't space pollute. More space debris. And it becomes a constant thing that you're having to go out and maintain. And that gives you something to do, because once you have your station built, oh, I need to return the pod to the shuttle because the fuel is low. Come on. Get home. Pod fuel exhausted. Do I have another pod I can bring out? Oh, good. There's more than one pod. So now I can just go rescue my other dude. The pod does have in addition to limited fuel, it has limited oxygen. And so this is a legit rescue situation here. As innocuous as it seems in video game terms, you do have to go get your stranded pilot, deploy satellite to low orbit. Well, I've got to go back to the satellites with this payload assist module anyway, so let's do it to it. It would help. It would really help enormously if I hadn't screwed up during the launch phase, had gotten things in with those rectangles, and, you know, had done that properly. Then the shuttle would be right under the station, and I wouldn't have to be using up all this fuel to ferry stuff around. Satellite deployment income added to budget. Space trash. I remember at the time... Oh, didn't mean to let go at too high an altitude, because it'll stay there. At the time, it seemed like the space junk thing was... perhaps unrealistically overplayed as a game element. Now I'm not so sure, because now we have people... you know, at various space agencies around the world, ringing the bell on this as a real problem. Okay, how can I get this docking module? Like that. More space debris. It does give you something to do during the game, but the funny thing is, whereas in 87 the space junk problem wasn't quite as prevalent as it is now, yeah, now it's a real problem. So that part of the game has aged well. More space debris. And eventually, once the space station has a crew, a full-time crew aboard, they will have their own means of dealing with this problem, because there will be a hangar where they have their own EVA pod, and members of the station crew can go take care of... Whoa, lots of space trash. Now, man, whoever's doing this, you're going to make the Space Indian cry. Hazardous release orbit? Well, I hope so. That's the whole point. Ah, you see? Part of it just disappeared. It just re-entered the atmosphere. And that's why the stuff you actually want in orbit with you, you can't leave it in that low orbit. More space to... Oh, man. It's... Pod fuel level low. Okay, I can't keep messing with this right now. Ooh, right on top of the shuttle, baby. Well, you know what? That's okay, because we are going to bring Atlantis in for a landing. See, on this screen, the rectangles aren't quite so hard to navigate. Down. So I'm going to try to keep these segments a little short, so they're not just constantly bombarding you. But yeah, there you have it, a little bit of Project Space Station. It's good to be back in space, doing space stuff. Oh, I overshot the runway. But that didn't penalize me. That's good. That's good. We'll be back to continue this mission at a later date.